Are you a solo founder and are thinking about should you take on a co-founder? If so, this is the video for you. Let's go. Hey there, my name is Lauren Kane. I am the founder of VC Worthy Business. I get investors to open their checkbooks for market disrupting female entrepreneurs. And this YouTube channel is here to support you on your fundraising journey. It will provide you with tools, tips, and tricks, best practices, a little bit of mindset shift to hopefully rev up your raise of investor capital. So do me a favor and click subscribe over here. It's over here. Click subscribe. And new videos drop with content every Wednesday here for you. I will have a good gem to hopefully either answer a question for you or again, rev up your raise. Okay, so let's jump into the co-founder thing. If you are a solo founder and you are raising investor capital, or if you are a solo founder and you're gearing up to raise investor capital, one thing might continually pop up. Do you have a co-founder? This happens a lot. If you are a solo founder, it's not going to be something that ever stops happening. And so you need to really do some soul searching on if you want a co-founder. Now, I will say that in this video, I'm talking about the pros and cons of having a co-founder. It is not whether I believe you should have a co-founder or not. That is a personal decision that you need to make as the founder of your company. But hopefully here I can give you some things, some information to really think through on why it might be beneficial or might not be the road for you. So the reason that founders are asked this a lot is that investors want to make sure that if something were to happen to you, that there's someone else that could really take the wheel and run this thing. And so, they're not looking for just a one-man band. Now, you might be raising investor capital to build out your team. And so you're like, well, I need the money to be able to bring on this investor or this co-founder that you keep talking about. But they're really looking for someone who has a co-founder to, just in case if something happens, if they're not the right CEO, that there is a co-founder backup. Some investors will only invest in companies founded with co-founders or multiple founders. Some investors it is a non-negotiable. You need to figure out if it's a non-negotiable for you to have a co-founder. So you really need to, again, do some soul searching. Now, I will say, even though I said I wasn't going to recommend if you should have a co-founder or not, I will say if you are a non-technical person, if you are a non-techie and you have a technical company, it has technology, and you have no idea what you're doing, you need to have a technical co-founder. You can have a strong development team, certainly that you're paying probably a lot of money to, but it goes a long way when you have a technical co-founder on your team, or if you have an in-house CTO. So I will have that caveat. If you've come up with a really good idea for technology and you are not a tech person, you need to have a technical co-founder. I just happen to be married to a tech guy, so if I ever create a company that has technology that is tech based, I will definitely tap my husband to be my technical co-founder. He might not know it yet, though. Okay, so let's talk through what are some of the benefits of having a co-founder. Well, it's good to have a partner in crime, right? So this is someone who is walking on the same journey with you and can be in the trenches and go through what you're going through with you. You have a partner to really be hand in hand through the beginning stages of a startup, which are not easy by any stretch of the imagination and not for the faint of heart. And a lot of times what happens is when you develop a team, you can't talk to that team. You can't talk to the team about the fact that you can't make payroll, that you might need to sell your car to be able to make payroll. You don't want to talk to them about that. They shouldn't see that side of your struggle. Or if you need to make an HR decision about one of your employees, you can't talk to the rest of the team about that. That's got to be something that is only at a executive C-suite level. And yes, even if you are a startup, if you and a co-founder and you're at a C-level, you have a C-suite. just so you know. And so you have that co-founder who you can have those conversations with to really like, okay, should we get rid of this person? Now, I'm going to go back to the point I made about a technical co-founder. So a co-founder can bring an area of expertise or experience that you don't have to your company. So in the instance of a tech company, you can have a technical co-founder. But it could be someone who brings marketing, operations. I really think it should be someone who has experience that you don't have. So that you're not coming with similar backgrounds, you're coming with maybe complementary backgrounds that complement the ability to grow your business. They can also help you with your fundraising efforts. So they can also be out pitching. You can tag team or you can do it together. Maybe you feel better with someone standing with you on the stage or the virtual stage. A co-founder can be that person for you. And so it goes to also, you can just divvy up the work in general. So it's not just pitching, even though that's where I live, so that's immediately where I go. But it can be to divvy up the work of running a company, which, I mean, let's just face it, it's exhausting, right? Now, it can also be one of those things that if you don't see yourself as a CEO, maybe they're the CEO, and you can take a step back and figure out what role best suits you in your company. It is your company. You get to figure out what role you want to have. So if you have a co-founder, maybe they're more of the CEO and you're more of the COO or the CTO or whatever C-suite position you want to be. Maybe you don't even want to be in the C-suite. Maybe you just want to be a founder and sort of start to take a step back. That's okay. You just need to know. So those are some of the benefits, and there are more, but we don't have that much time in this video. I don't want to keep going. So what are some of the drawbacks of having a co-founder? Well, the biggest one is that you have to give up ownership in your company. Not all of it, but you're going to have to give up a percentage of ownership in your company. And that can be a hard pill to swallow if you are someone who it's your baby, you gave birth to this idea, you've been doing all the work, and now you have to give up a portion of the pie to someone else who didn't give birth to this. That can be a hard thing for a founder to go through and also come to resolution over. And it is hard, not impossible, but it's hard to sever a co-founder relationship if things don't go well. Having a co-founder is like getting married. It is a version of getting married. And so you want to, make sure that you are really vetting this person. You need to date them up, down, and sideways. That didn't come out right, but you get what I'm saying. You need to vet them and make sure that you can run a company with this person, that you can be on the phone with them at 2:00 in the morning, that they're going to pick up the phone and talk to you about a production issue, or they're going to talk to you about an outage, or they're going to call you, that really, you're going to be able to run this company together, and they're going to be a person that you're going to want to spend a lot of time with. If they annoy you in the very beginning, imagine after years of working with that person. So you need to vet them properly to make sure that they are the person that you want to be alongside you. Just because they have the expertise that you need doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have the temperament that you can work with. And everyone works with different people differently. And so you really want to make sure that you can work with them, because that's really the biggest key. And you want to make sure they can do the job. If they can't do the job and pull their weight, bye. Okay, and so the other drawback is to have another cook in the kitchen. So this is really hard if you're used to being the only cook and your decision was final. If you have someone else who has decision-making power, that is, right there with you, that can chime in, and if they don't agree with you, provide confusing, contradictory information to your staff. You want to make sure that that you guys kind of figure out what that relationship looks like. You don't want your team or you or your customers to feel like they don't know who's running this ship. You want it to be really clear. Okay, again, so I could keep going on this list and on both the drawbacks and the benefits. But I think really what it is really thinking through what is the right step for you. And if you decide to have a co-founder, what are some things that you should think about as you go into this journey of finding a co-founder? So the first thing is to, if you found a co-founder or you're looking for a co-founder, think through what are the boundaries that you need to create for you. What are you going to be responsible for? And once you find a co-founder, what are they going to be responsible for? So, if you are the CEO, what are you overseeing operations in HR and, maybe the supply chain, and they're over here in marketing, and they are literally handling all of the branding decisions, social media, ads, all of that. That's their wheelhouse. You are not going to step on each other's toes. So you draw the lines very clear so that if it's a marketing thing, you know that they get the final decision. If it's an everything else thing, you know that you get the final decision. You get the say. So that, that there's not any, miscommunication about who is in charge of what. If you can set the line in the sands very clearly on day one, it really goes a long way. Even if you don't have a team yet, you still have that line, because you want to make sure that you guys don't start to have bad habits where the lines start to bleed. You draw the lines and you have to stick with them. You have to hold true to those lines. You also want to make sure, and if there's any potential co-founders listening to this, please close your ears, but you also want to make sure that you don't give them half ownership. And the reason that I say that, now, you can, it is your equity to give up. I can't, tell you not, I can't, force you to not do it. But I will say that you don't want to give up half ownership, because one, what if you do have to pull this thing back in and you've given up half of your company to this person? Two, you need to hold on to majority. It is your idea. It is your company. They don't get majority stake for something, or even, half of the decision, because you came up with this idea. This is your company. Unless they buy in with some money, do not give them 50% ownership. Because if you are raising capital, your ownership and their ownership is going to be diluted down. You don't want your ownership to then be so low after you take an investor capital that you feel like you're working for nothing. So you don't want to give all of that or half of that up to them right from the get-go. You can give them equity and then it vests over time to increase. But you want to make sure that you are holding on to enough that when you have your, the amount that you think investors are going to ultimately put in, your best guesstimate, that, you're at a good ownership percentage. So when you have an exit, you're going to have some good money in the bank because this was your idea. And you really want to have an out clause if this doesn't work out. And usually it's something that you want to go through quickly in the beginning if it doesn't work. You don't want to have a long drawn out founder divorce. That is going to totally sidetrack your ability to raise investor capital. And it's going to hurt your business. It's going to hurt morale of your team. It might even be something that your clients or customers are going to feel. And so you want to make sure you have, basically a prenup in there. If something happens, this is what happens. And that's why also having their equity vest over time, that if you need to get rid of them, maybe you only give them 5 or 10% right from the get-go. And so they still hold on to that when they leave, if maybe after they've been there for 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, and then the rest of it will vest over time if they stay. And so it allows you to get rid of them fast. And then if you bring on another co-founder, they get to have that equity that is available now. And so you want to have that out clause. But really, you want to make a decision that is right for you and right for your company. And there is something I want to touch on around that, is it is more about your company versus you. I know right now in the stage that you're in, it is all about you because you're probably the person wearing all the hats, but you want to think long-term for your company. And sometimes that can be really hard if, you're like, I don't want a co-founder. But if it's right for your company in the long run, then maybe you do need a co-founder. And so, you just want to really think about what's right for your baby. And it's not about you. It's not about you. When you gave birth to this business that you put out into the world, it became about it and not about you. And so you might have to set aside some of the things that, you as a founder saw you doing, how you would operate, changing once you bring on a co-founder, if that's the decision that you decide to go. So just keep in mind, the question to ask is, what is the right thing for my company? Not necessarily for you, for your company. And then when it gets to the co-founder, what is the right decision for you? Because in the beginning stages, you're going to work so closely, it has to be someone that you can work with. I hope that you found this video helpful. If so, check me out on all the places social. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.